Josh here with Project Car Media, and today we're going to give you a little update on the CRV and we're going to install some more parts. Welcome back to another episode. This is part 3 of the Copart Auction Car Project. Thank you so much for joining me, and hopefully this video gives you a little bit of inspiration to work on your project car, or possibly just a little bit of entertainment, or you can see how to install a fender on a CRV. So over these last couple weeks, I've been driving the CRV around as a daily driver. Been a couple hundred miles. Everything has been great on it. There really hasn't been any problems with it at all. I even drove it up on the freeway a couple hours up north and back. Hit about 80 miles an hour. Everything drives like butter. It's really amazing what a new driveline will do. So really, the only thing that I've noticed since driving these last couple of weeks is that there's something underneath the car at certain RPMs that is rubbing on the body. It's a little bit annoying. It doesn't really do anything, but it's a little bit annoying. And I think it might be the exhaust. If you notice from the previous video when I was doing the driveline, you can see right here that the catalytic converter heat shield was like bent and kind of like pushed up a little bit. So I'm thinking that it's the exhaust rubbing on the body. I'm going to see if we can get underneath there, see if we can remove that heat shield and possibly fix that problem. But that's really the only problem that I've noticed that maybe a buyer might question when they're driving it. Everything else drives great. It starts no problem, doesn't smoke or anything like that. I know that a lot of people would buy this CRV the way it sits right now with the dent on the fender and the rust on the driver's side fender. But for me personally, if I'm going to be driving it around for a little bit, I just want to replace the two fenders with fenders that don't have any rust on them. If I'm looking for a car to buy, I don't want to buy one that has rust on it. I don't care if it's on the fender or the body or whatever. It just tells me that either, paint had chipped off and it's been sitting there like that for a while, or there possibly was some salt and maybe the car isn't from around here. I'm not really sure, but I just think it won't ask, I won't get any more money out of it, but I think it'll make it little easier to sell with the fenders on that don't have any rust or dents on them. So I went to the junkyard and I found a driver's side and passenger side fender that don't have any dents or rust. The driver's side fender does have a pinstripe that I'm going to have to get off, but it's old, it's painted on. I think I can use a little bit of lacquer thinner to rub it off. And then while I was at the junkyard, I also picked up some OEM front mud flaps. Now these I don't see very often on CRVs. I see the rears all the time on CRVs, but I don't ever see the front. So I thought this was kind of a good catch. My brother had a spare Thule rack in his garage, a universal one, that I can put on the CRV to help kind of complete like a Pacific Northwest look. This car is from Colorado, so you know I'm trying to help it blend a little bit into the Pacific Northwest by adding these front mud flaps, adding this Thule rack here, and that way I think that'll kind of help sell it. People will think it looks a little bit off-roady. They can put whatever attachment they want on this Thule rack, snowboards, ski, bike, whatever. And with the two new fenders that don't have any rust or dents, it'll really, I think, complete the look and make it definitely something somebody would want to buy. I did get the title, so probably throw it up on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace after I finish these parts and drive around for a little while. So let's go ahead and get this pinstripe off this fender and get all these parts installed. All right, so first step here to getting this pinstripe off of this fender is that we just need to spray it with some soap and water, wipe it off, and then we're going to put some lacquer thinner on a rag and just go in kind of a circular motion and see if it will come off. I watched a YouTube video on this, so obviously I am now a pro at removing pinstripes on cars. So we'll see if this works. The guy did mention that all newer cars have a special type of clear coat that lacquer thinner won't damage, but I don't know if the year 2000 is considered a newer car or not. So we're just going to give this a try in a little tiny spot. And if it just takes the paint right off, well, then we're just going to have to figure something else out. So let's go ahead and give this a try here. Oh man, this stuff smells bad. All right, here we go. Yeah, look at that. It takes it off. I mean, there's still a little bit of residue, but I think I can probably get that out with a little bit of, like, I don't know, polishing or something. I don't see any paint on the rag, so that's good. I think I'm just going to need to keep, spraying some soap and water on it and keeping it clean because it does seem to be taking a little bit of the clear coat off too. So, I mean, it's definitely taking it off, but probably going to have to, wax this area once the pinstripe's off. Because if you can, I don't know if you guys can really see on there after I wipe it off here, but it looks a little bit dull where I put some lacquer. So definitely going to have to be careful. I'm just going to go ahead and remove the whole pinstripe. And then if it's really dull where the pinstripe was, then I'm going to try to like give it a little bit of a wax or something, do something to help with that. So, let's get to it. I've tried using lacquer thinner. I've tried using razor blades to get this pinstripe off. You can see that in the camera, it looks like most of it is off, closer to the edge of the fender. But the lacquer thinner was taking some of the paint off, and the razor blade, it does a good job of taking it off, but there's always the chance of scraping and stuff like that. So I did have some fine cut cleaner laying around, as well as a couple felt polishing pads for my Dremel, and I've seen this work on painted pinstripes on YouTube as well. So now I'm going to try to get these pinstripes off with the Dremel and the fine cut cleaner, and see if that works, and we'll go from there. So let's give it a shot. We'll start off with a small area like that. And let's see if this works here. When it does get a little bit messy, it tends to kind of flings it everywhere, so that's not the greatest, but well, definitely is taking a little bit of it off. I mean, it's kind of working. I just don't want to go too hard here. Let's take another wipe here and look. I mean, it's definitely taking it off. It looks better than it did. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and do the rest of it, and then if there's anything left over as far as pinstripes go, then I'll just try to polish that out a little bit better. I'm just kind of going at a 45-degree angle here, trying not to put any pressure on the Dremel. As you can see right here, it's really faint, and I think from a distance you'll barely be able to tell. If anything, you'll be like, oh yeah, this used to have a pinstripe at one point. I'm just going to keep going and see what I can do. Okay, so as you can see in the light, it looks like I didn't get any of the pinstripe off, but I actually did. It used to be a lot brighter than this, and when it's wet, it actually almost looks like it's gone. But I tried lacquer thinner, I tried razor blade, I tried some like polisher and a little buffer wheel on my Dremel, and nothing seems to work to get it completely off. I'm going to try to give it a buffer wheel polish like one more time when I get it on the car, but if you guys have any ideas or tricks to get these pinstripes completely off, go ahead and leave some comments in the comment section. That'd be much appreciated. It looks to me, it feels to me like the pinstripes were put on under the clear coat, before the clear coat. So there's kind of like these two little grooves, and I think that's why I can't get all of the pinstripe off, because there's kind of like these little grooves and it's hard to get down in there and get that. And I don't want to push too hard and get some of the paint off. So hopefully when I put this thing on and give it a little more polish, it'll look a little bit better. Let's go ahead and throw these fenders on. All right, we're going to go ahead and start with the driver's side fender first. Now, the reason I wanted to do a how-to on this is because I've never actually seen a YouTube video or anything on how to replace a fender on a 97 to 2001 CR-V. So this is going to kind of act like a how-to video as well, just to help anybody out that might be looking to replace a fender on a CR-V. So we're just going to go step by step instead of doing a time lapse, and hopefully that'll help you guys out. All right, first I'm going to hit these 3 bolts on the top. These are 10mm bolts. I'm also going to remove these 2 top bolts for the headlight in preparation for having to move that. These bolts are 10mm as well. If you look closely here, there is another bolt right there. I did have to take off the zip tie over here to pull the bumper down. Technically, I should take off the front of the bumper, but I can actually get to both of the bolts I need to just by pulling down the bumper. So let's go ahead and get those. These are also 10mm. Everything on the fender is 10mm. Now the other bolt we need to get, the last one here on the front, is right here. You can kind of see it. That will undo the front, and then we'll have to pull the headlight has some tabs that go into the fender. That's why we had to loosen the headlight, and then we'll get underneath the fender liner. Now for this one, it's good to just pry open the fender liner and see if you can get, well, either your tool or your gun or whatever you're using up to the bolt. There you go. So now all the front bolts are out for the fender. Let's move to the fender liner. Now, these can be fragile, these plastic ones, so you just got to be really careful. If it breaks, there's not a whole lot you can do. But basically what you need to do is pry out the middle piece and pop it out. Now the whole thing will come out as well. So that's basically what it looks like. It's the same ones that are in the bumper. So basically you pull the middle piece out and the whole thing comes out. The rest of the fender liner is pretty much just tucked in and not screwed in anywhere. So let's get to the bolts on the door side. Okay, next we're going to hit the bottom bolt. You have to open the door all the way in order to get to this bolt. If you can't open the door all the way, then you'll need to use a wrench from the other side of the door to get to it. And we're looking at this bolt right here. So let's get this one. It's also a 10mm. Well, that was definitely not even on that much at all. As you can see, we're taking this bolt out. You can see definitely there's some rust on the bottom of this fender. I'm really glad I'm replacing it because it's kind of a crappy fender. I know that my new one has a pinstripe on it, but I'm hoping if I can get most of that pinstripe off, it'll look much better than this. All right, so there's that bolt. Next bolt we're going to get is right over here behind the side skirt. You can kind of see it right now. And the side skirt's not even really screwed on, so I'm just going to like bend this down and get in there and get the bolt. I'm just going to bend this down here. Now, normally, this looks like it's a little bit bent as well, but normally you can't pull this down. You'll have to unscrew it from the inside. But man, it looks like this bolt is like pushed up or something or bent. Yeah, I can't even get my socket on there because it's like bent up or something. So we're gonna have to try to hit the top bolt, get the fender off, and bend it so I can actually get to that bolt. Yeah. All right, let's try the top one at the top of the door. Okay, here's the top bolt. This is the last bolt, besides the one I can't get to on the bottom, that will remove this fender. So let's go ahead and grab this one. Wow, this one was also like loose. Man. I'm really glad I'm replacing this fender with one that I can actually tighten the bolts on and doesn't have any rust and isn't bent. So that'll be nice. All right, there's the last bolt, besides the one on the bottom. So let's see if we can bend this thing to get the bottom bolt. Got the front fender off. I had to actually bend the bracket on that bottom bolt in order for me to get a socket on it, but I was able to get the fender off. So now we're going to put the new fender on. All right, driver's side is done. The new fender is on. I got the mud flap on as well. Swap the rear wheel to the front because it's got way more tread. And I gotta say, it looks so much better. Even with that pinstripe, it's not very noticeable. And the fender, just look at that. I mean, no dent in the front, no rust. The bumper lines up really nice. The fender's not perfect. It's got some defects to it, but that's kind of what I wanted. I didn't want anything perfect because there are plenty of scratches and dents on the rest of this car. I do like those front mud flaps. They kind of go good with the rear mud flaps. It looks really cool. So yeah, we're gonna do the passenger side here real quick. I'll show you guys that, and then we'll do the roof rack. Then we'll get underneath and see if we can fix whatever that rattle is. All right, so the rack is on, the mud flaps are on, everything is done. I got the new fenders installed. Everything is done. I didn't get a chance to get underneath the car to see what might be rattling, but I will do that very soon. One thing I did also notice is that on the racks when I'm driving, I do notice there's some air noises that bug me pretty bad. So unfortunately, I think I'm going to take the racks off. It'll still look good with the mud flaps, but the racks just make too much noise for me. So if you know any tips or tricks on how to get those painted pinstripes off, definitely leave a comment in the comment section. So thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next video.